My real only interest in the brackets is I'm kind of hoping that the University of Arizona Wildcats get defeated in the first round by the Akron Zips.
I'm Arizona Family political editor Dennis Welch.
Dennis, fake news Welch. Try to tell the truth.
And this is the Politics Unplugged podcast.
Dennis, if you have a problem with substance abuse, I am more than willing to talk to you anytime you need.
Welcome back to Politics Unplugged, and today I am very happy to be joined by Laurie Roberts, columnist at The Republic. Laurie, thanks for coming. I'm a fan of your writing and your columns for a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks
Wow.
for giving us some of your time here today. And let's start with a basic question. I want to talk about some of your recent columns, but let's start what it's like to write a column today. I mean, as a columnist, you've always taking criticism from the public and whatnot, because if you're good at what you're doing, you're pissing some people off. But what's it like today? What's changed?
Think about going into a bar and there's a brawl going on all around you, and this guy over here is drunk and he's hitting somebody over the head with a vodka bottle, and this guy over here is spewing beer in your face. It's all of that and more. It's an incredible, horrifying, terrifying, exhilarating time to be a journalist, because never has it been more clear how important our jobs are.
Mm-hmm. I think it is kind of important too. Like, a lot of the columns that, if you're really good at it, I mean, you're voicing an opinion. Although you may not agree with it, or you may disagree with it, but you're voicing some thoughts from people that it's almost cathartic if you read it. If you agree with it. It can be really cathartic, and if you disagree with it, it can get you angry, but you're feeling something. And I feel that that's an important role in today's media environment.
Yeah, I don't write things for people to necessarily agree with me. I'm not trying to be popular. I have always tried to just call it as I see it, and sometimes even I read what I write afterwards and go, I don't know about that one. But it is me at the moment writing what I think, and I think that some other people would agree, and I know that a lot of people don't. But isn't it great in America that you can still do that? And I say still because I don't know how much longer that's going to be possible. There's so much on the media landscape that we could talk about, and so much on the political landscape. But for me, I just, carry on. What's the story today?
Yeah, I know I've had a lot of discussions about modern media landscape. I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but I feel so conflicted and actually have just dropped off Twitter altogether. I think Elon bought that. The platform changed radically. I think Elon, is not a friend of the media in writ large, and I don't want to support somebody who's constantly attacking what we do.
I don't mind it. That's okay. You can attack us.
Sure.
It's not a bad thing for us to look at how we've covered things. Look at how we covered the last 4 years. Did we do the job we should have done? And I would ask that specifically of the national media. Did you really convey properly what was going on in Washington, in the White House? I don't know that I think they did, but I have no problem with Twitter. It's become sort of a MAGA right-wing echo chamber.
I mean, very much so, to the point where
But it's good to hear what they have to say, because most of them won't speak to any of us anyway.
Yeah, and it is for that respect, but it's just it's almost pointless. You're not having any conversation there.
No, there's no conversation there. There is snide sneering at anyone who's liberal, anyone who is anyone who disagrees with them. They talk about the First Amendment, but they don't really often, and when I say they, I mean those people within that community that are doing this. They talk about the First Amendment, but I'm not entirely sure they respect it or believe in it.
And I see some of the stuff that, Elon Musk, he's just asking questions or reposting things that be it anti-Semitic or whatnot. And I don't feel right supporting that platform, because there is no platform without content. And I feel, for me personally, like if I am, tweeting away or posting away on there, that I am somehow supporting that platform. And I just am uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, I certainly understand how you feel, and there's nothing wrong with just leaving it. But on the other hand, if everybody nobody talks to anybody ever again,
Sure.
if nobody ever hears your point of view again in that crowd,
Yeah.
then your point of view isn't heard,
Yeah.
whether they agree with you or disagree with you.
I know.
I mean, at least I know that those people read me because I get all the insults. Some four-letter words I've never even heard before.
Four-letter words never heard or just flatly were misspelled. But let's talk about some of your recent columns here. Let's start with the latest one here. It's about Andy Biggs. He had a meeting over here recently, and party affiliations mattered. What's going on?
Yeah, well, it wasn't his meeting. The Maricopa County Republican Committee, I think I've got that right,
Yeah.
MCRC, held what they called a town hall for him and a couple of other Republican politicians. And he went, and nobody was allowed in, not the media, and nobody who wasn't a registered Republican was allowed in. Now, normally I'd say, that's okay because our politicians, they have a right to hear from their guy. Except that, as you know, right now, Republican congressmen are few and far in between who are willing to go out and have town halls face-to-face with their constituents to hear what they have to say, to answer their questions. Biggs in particular has been asked over and over again by people, we want to hear from you. We have questions about what's going on. There's kind of a lot of big stuff going on right now. And he has declined to have a town hall. So it seemed to me just sort of a slap in the face to his own constituents, 2/3 of whom are not Republicans, that I'm going to go talk to these people, but I'm not going to allow any of you people who are also my constituents in. So who does he really represent?
Yeah,
is the question.
And it's another interesting question is he serious about really running for governor? I mean, if he wants to be governor for the entire state, I mean, it's more than just Republicans, as to your point.
Well, it's a very good question. How it's one thing to run in a district where all you really need is Republicans. He's in a very conservative district, and those are the people who vote, and he slides in every time after having, I think, as you have mentioned before off the air, a pretty tough first campaign in 2016. Since then, he's pretty much glided through things. But when you go to face a statewide electorate, it's a whole different thing.
And that's why, I think it's important that he answers some of these questions, because a lot of these decisions that are being made in D.C., we want to know what he thinks about, because more so than I think any other incoming administration, a lot of the decisions that are being made are having really big impacts on the states.
Well,
Huge.
yeah, I mean, the CHIPS Act, he voted against it. It passed anyway. We've seen what it's done for Arizona. It's been a major boost. We're now a big home for semiconductors, and I think most people would say that's a very, very good thing for Arizona and for America. Except for, of course, the president, who thinks it's a horrible, horrible thing and implied that he wants it ended. And like so many other things, he can't end it on his own, although there's not any evidence that says he won't anyway. Where does Andy Biggs stand? This is a big deal for this state.
Yeah.
Where does he stand on Medicaid? If there are cuts to Medicaid, as many people think there must be, given the continuing resolution and the need to cut the budget by, what was it, $800 billion or something, 800 million, trillion.
We're talking like,
big number.
800. Yeah, I guess there's so many big numbers running around out there.
Yeah, but I think I heard the figure that something like 2 million Arizonans are on Access, which is our Medicaid program. Might be considered a big deal to a lot of them to find out where our congressional delegation is on this issue and what do they have to expect. Same with Social Security. We hear there's no cuts, and then Elon goes off about how it needs to be cut, and a lot of people in this state depend on Social Security.
And it'd be nice to know where Andy Biggs, who might want to be your next governor.
And if you were a Republican, you could have gone to the town hall this week and found out. As for the rest of us, we're apparently not important enough to know.
Yeah, it's and I know the RNC has told people not to have town halls. Maybe he's just taking that to a further degree. It's like, I'm gonna speak to these groups, but it's only gonna be my people. But what do you say to, like, I had Barrett and Larson on the show, on the TV show, and he said he didn't think this was that big of a deal.
Well, I mean, will it be a big deal next year? Probably not, unless it continues on. Who can even predict what goes on? Who can even predict what goes on tomorrow over the weekend?
I know.
Around
I know.
here
I feel
now.
like I know.
I think it is a big deal for right now because there's so much anger out there about what's going on. And part of your job as a congressman is not just to listen to the people who will cheer everything you do. And it kind of gets back to our Twitter conversation, but part of your job is to listen to the people who are angry and hear what they have to say, even if you disagree with them. Maybe you'll hear something that changes your mind, or maybe you'll say something that changes their mind or eases their mind. But that's the way the system was set up. That's what he did when he first ran for office back in his first term in 2017. He talked about how important it was to have person-to-person, in-person town halls. Now, not so much.
Yeah, and part of Congress's job writ large, beyond just anti-pigs, is you're supposed to have, at times, even with your president of your own party, a bit of a contentious relationship from time to time with them. And I just don't feel that's happening much right now.
No, everyone has bent to the knee of Donald Trump, even if they are secretly and silently rolling their eyes about it. That's just where the country is right now. Something will change. Pendulums swing. It's a matter of what sets it off and how long until it happens, but it will happen. I just don't know when.
It's just funny. I got to the point of just like hard eye rolling, like almost physical reaction. You made those stories where, privately Republicans are critical of this, that, and the other thing. It's just nobody comes out and says anything.
They've got the spine of a wet noodle.
Yeah.
They're terrified. I don't know if they're terrified of Trump, which they probably are, because you never know what's going to come out of his mouth and what he's going to set upon you, or if they're just terrified of their voters. But if it's either one, I mean, you got elected to do something to further this country and to uphold the Constitution. I believe most of them, if not all of them, must have taken an oath like that.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't believe that Trump is proceeding constitutionally, they have an obligation to speak out, and not a one will.
So, I want to talk about this too. This one, interesting headline here says, if Arizona approves firing squads, we bear responsibility to watch.
Yeah.
So what was tell me about this, Colin.
The legislature is considering a bill to put on the ballot for next year's election, a bill to make firing squad the execution style of choice. Or not of choice, but the default way that we execute prisoners, unless they're very, very old prisoners, I think from pre-1992 or something, then they'd have a choice. They'd have a menu of options of how they'd like to be dispatched. But for the newer ones, it would be firing squad. Mm-hmm. And the sponsor, Representative Alexander Cullinan, thinks it's a great idea because bullets cost a lot less, number one. And number two, he thinks it's a more humane way to kill people. And that's what sort of caught my attention is there any humanity in killing people? I don't see the humanity in what is essentially, the way I was brought up, and in my religion, it would be considered an inhumane act. So I thought, well, maybe there is something wrong with the way we do it now, because so many people have no problem with officially killing people and they're doing it in the name of us. Yeah. You go to court, the prosecutors are always the state of Arizona. The state is us, so they're doing it in our name. But we never witness it. We just hear the anesthetized version of they go in and they put them on a gurney and they put the liquid, they pull the plunger, and that's the end of it. It is a bloody thing to do, even if you're not spilling blood. So let's spill blood and let's all watch it. Yeah, and then we'll at least be honest about what it is that we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, because there was the controversy over the lethal injection in Arizona with the cocktail that was given, and there was what was his name? It was a few years ago. He was struggling to breathe as he was executed.
The name, but yeah.
And what were they really upset about? Well, again, you can make an argument they were upset that they didn't, pull off the most sanitized version of an execution, which is we'd like you to come into this sterile room, lay down, inject you, and you just go to sleep.
Right. Well, that's what they want. They even, I think, put an anesthesia in there first, and it's all very clean. Yeah. But is that if we are going to end another human being's life. And I'm not soft on crime. If these people have done these crimes, I think the far worse punishment would be to lock them in a cell, throw away the key.
Yeah.
I don't see any particular fun in living forever knowing you're always going to be in a cage.
Yeah.
But if we're going to kill people, let's just be honest about what we're doing. You wouldn't shoot your dog, would you?
No.
You would take him to the vet and put him down in what they call a humane fashion, and I guess it is in that case. But I don't see the humanity in a firing squad, and I don't see the humanity in the way that we killed Mr. Gunches or whatever his name was this week. But I do hope that it at least brought solace to to the victim's family.
Yeah, but your point is like at least if they did the firing squad, it'd be much more honest.
Yeah,
if you watch them, like really, this is actually what you're really doing.
Right. They're doing it in my name and in your name. We're the state of Arizona. We're the people. We the people, as they like to say. So I think that we have a responsibility, especially if they're going to put it on the ballot where we're choosing how we're going to kill people in the future.
Oh,
if we're willing to pull the trigger, so to speak, on a law like this, then we should be able to watch the results of what we do. It's being done for us.
I think this passes if it gets to the ballot pretty easily. What do you think?
Easily.
I mean, it's just like you can't get.
So let's live stream it, and those who want to watch can watch. I mean, do you know how this works? Right? They take a bullseye and they tape it over your heart, and then they put a hood on your head, and you got 3 guys in the back room with their rifles that have bullets that are specially designed to break up on impact, so as to make sure to have the maximum destruction.
Isn't only one person have the real bullet?
I don't.
Because I know.
No, I mean, it depends on how you do it, but I don't think so. I mean, that was the idea, that then only one, nobody has to feel guilty that they pulled the trigger. But I think the difference between pulling the trigger on a blank and pulling the trigger on a fully
I think you'd
bullet
know.
You'd have a different kick.
Yeah.
I think you'd know. But also, if we're killing people and we think it's a good idea and lawful, what's the problem with knowing who did it? Why all the secrecy?
Yeah.
If we're not doing anything wrong, what's the problem?
Yeah, and I think they're trying to protect the executioners, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's for when I remember they don't.
They're volunteers. I suspect there's plenty of people in the system that would volunteer to do this stuff. It's a bloodthirsty sport, and it's a bloodthirsty time.
I'd hate to guess what the numbers on the live stream would be.
How many people this week have been cheering what went on last weekend when they sent all of those illegal immigrants, the Venezuelans, to that El Salvador prison, never to be seen again? Now, I have no problem with sending gangbangers out of the country. Get them the hell out of here. But we don't know if they were all gangbangers. We don't know if they had any due process. We don't know if there was collateral damage picked up, if it was somebody's kid brother there. And yet, I would say probably most of the country is cheering what's going on.
Yeah, because you saw there was a lot of videos of those folks being walked into the prisons there. Their heads were shorn, shaved, and I mean, it looked like they were entering hell. Yeah, and and you'd like to know. But do they deserve this?
Was there any judicial oversight? We don't know. Do we know that all of these people had been committing crimes?
Yeah.
We don't know. They had tattoos. Okay, is a tattoo now a symbol of a crime? I mean, they may very well be all members of that, whatever the name of that Venezuelan gang is, but we don't know. And nobody other than, I don't know, the administration says it's true.
I mean, and the block on this isn't, I don't think, nearly as egregious as the administration is making it out to be. I think it's just, let's make sure what we're doing here.
For the ones who are subject to deportation and you can't send them back to Venezuela because Venezuela won't take them, you got to do something with them. I don't know if it has to be a maximum security prison where there is apparently never been anybody released from it. I don't know. I mean, it seems like that's an extreme example. I understand
that prison does not.
But for those people who have been in this country committing crimes, get them the heck out of here. It's just
100%. Let's
make sure that's who it was.
Yeah, and I think that was the selling point with the campaign, and I think most people were on board with that. If you're going to start your deportations by going after the hard criminals, I think, like to your point, everybody was saying, yeah, let's do that, but let's make sure if you're sending somebody to hell like this, let's make sure they deserve it.
Well, I read a national story about one of them is like a Venezuelan soccer star, and he got involved in a protest and had to get out of the country for that reason. And he has I don't know much about gangs, but he had tattoos that had to do, he claims, with his soccer love, including a crown and some other things. But apparently they must be similar enough to the gang tattoos that got him caught up in this. It would be nice to know for sure that somebody could say, yeah, he is one of the bad guys. Or, yeah, he's one of the people who was murdering and raping and killing and burglarizing. But we don't know. Nobody knows.
Well, speaking of the administration, we've seen a lot and heard a lot from Democrats over the past couple of weeks that they're upset that their leadership isn't standing up to the administration better. They're not stronger and whatnot. What's your take on what you're seeing from Democrats and the leadership there and from our leadership here, Democratic leadership here in the state?
Well, I think it's been very interesting because you see on the one hand Governor Hobbs, who is pretty much, she's accepting some things that she never would have accepted before. She's pretty much hands off. I'm not going to say anything. My lips are sealed. I don't want to go to jail. And then you have Attorney General Chris Mays, who's out there saying, look out, just try us, try me. And suing him right and left, going to forums with other attorneys general and pushing back pretty hard. A lot of those federal cases are that way. I think where Democrats are making one of their mistakes right now, though, is they're not speaking out about this Tesla business. I understand the anger about Elon Musk. He's a little man boy who runs around in his sunglasses and his chainsaw, acting like, as he takes a whack at federal government, doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't know the rules, causing all kinds of upheaval. I understand that. But you don't vandalize Teslas. You don't set fire to them. And the other thing that's interesting about that is these are Democrats presumably doing these things. Isn't that the party that's all worried about climate control and all those things? And yet here you are torching electric vehicle charging stations and torching Teslas. It's not right. And the Democratic leadership should be speaking out about that. Even Senator Kelly, he went and got himself a new vehicle, a gas guzzler, by the way.
A Yukon or something like that?
It was a
Tahoe, Yukon.
I think it was a Tahoe, an SUV, a big old Tahoe, which they don't make an electrical vehicle. So apparently so much for climate change. But anyway, so he makes a big show of changing his car, and I can respect that. It's no different than the people who didn't drink Bud Light on the other side when that was an issue. Yeah. But he should be speaking out saying, this is going too far, this is wrong. And I don't hear the Democrats, there may be a scattered one here or there, but I haven't heard them defending Elon on that. And they should, because it's wrong.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point because, but some context around the Senator Kelly-Elon thing. This was after a back and forth.
When he was called a traitor?
Elon Musk, who's, again, from South Africa. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think migrated here to the United States or came here to avoid being drafted into military service. I think maybe, so that I'm right, and maybe Colin could fact check that. I'm not sure.
Maybe he couldn't have just claimed bone spurs?
Apparently not.
Yeah, but no, I do. Look,
but there was that back and forth.
Over the traitor business.
Right. And look, say what you want, but, Senator
ridiculous.
Kelly's combat pilot, combat veteran.
Well, it's one of those man boy things. It's like he's a grown adult. He's obviously brilliant because he's worth a lot more than anybody else in the entire world. Yeah. So he's made a lot of money. He's pretty good at that stuff, but he's a terrible people person. It's to speak like that about someone like Senator Kelly is crazy. And to even assume that because he went to the Ukraine to tell the other side of the story that we're not hearing from this administration and to correct some outright lies that this administration has told. I thought Elon was all about the First Amendment again, and instead we're told that Senator Kelly is a traitor. But having said that, I still don't blame him for turning in his Tesla. No problem with that at all. No. But what I think I would have also liked him to say is, turn in your Teslas. That's great, but don't burn them up, and don't burn up other people's cars.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little long on time here, but I definitely want to get to this. Did you see the reporting on this awkward interaction between Senator Gallego and Kari Lake?
Hey, want to shake my hand? So now we add to the number of things you never want to do around Kari Lake. You don't want to be speaking to her because you're probably being taped secretly. Now you know you don't want to hand out your hand because she's going to make a scene.
Yeah, because apparently there was some swanky nightclub or something in D.C.
Yeah,
they run into each other.
He does what I think would be considered the graceful thing to do. The gentlemanly thing is he goes to shake her hands as one of his constituents, and she grabs his hand with both of her hands, much like you would warmly do to somebody.
Yeah.
Hey, it's so good to see you. And says something to the effect of, well, how does it feel to be bought and paid for by the cartels? It's first of all, it's not fact-based. There's no evidence that he's ever been involved with any cartels. And secondly, it just shows just the bitterness she must still be feeling. You see it also on Twitter every once in a while. She'll lash out at Gallego or she'll lash out at Katie Hobbs. And of course, she constantly lashes out at the media, but it's like she can't let her time in Arizona, her defeats go.
And I've never understood. I've followed and reported on her. Have you ever had any conversation with her? I don't understand where the anger and bitterness with her comes from at this point, because it's lingering. And that interaction was just crazy.
I think she just must wake up in the morning and just put on her boxing gloves. Now, who can I get today? You watched what happened with the Voice of America, didn't you?
Yes. And
1 minute, the Voice of America is going to be a weapon for truth and honesty, truth reporting and honest reporting. And like literally 2 weeks later, it's full of rot and a burden on the taxpayer. It's whatever Donald Trump believes is what she believes, I guess. And if you would try to question her about that, you would be called. It would be called a lie. You'd be called fake news. She'd say, "I never said that."
Oh, you could never question her on.
How do you have conversations with people when you can't even agree on basic facts? That facts aren't facts anymore. Facts are fake news.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was to the point where I would see her be interviewed on live television, like on Channel 12, for example. I'm not picking on 12.
Oh, you remember the interview with their guy?
Their guy. And I'm like, why would you put her on live television? It's like, because it was like, you can't fact check her. I mean, there's an anchor there. Like, he can't fact check her in real time. Well, she's not burdened by any of that.
Yeah, but she was at that point a senatorial candidate. And so I get it. But what I don't understand is why do you, as the candidate, here's your chance. There's a live mainstream show, a lot of people watching. Why do you want to portray yourself like she does? Just as bitter and mean and nasty. Yeah,
it's all about getting one over on, because I know I was, not humble bragging here at all. I think I was kind of the first through the door on this.
I remember she excoriated you.
Yeah, and for weeks after that, people on Twitter, it's just how she owned me, and
that's what it's all about for them, owning the libs. Yeah. Everything's about owning the libs.
And it was like, owning what? I watched the interview. I mean, clearly I didn't realize that they were going to record this and use this in this way. And what you're seeing is a journalist doing his job trying to nail down facts. And she was avoiding the questions.
And if anybody should know the job, you would think it would be her. The only thing I can wonder about is if her bitterness comes from however it is that she left Channel 10. Yeah. I don't know what the circumstances were. You hear rumors, of course, but she's so incredibly bitter. And you'd think, in the end, okay, you lost 2 close elections, and then you won the lottery. You got to go to Washington and get what would have been a high-profile position in the Trump administration, and still you're just sniping.
I know.
I don't understand it.
You think she's got a future in Arizona politics?
Oh, I hope so. I think it'd be fantastic as a journalist to see her back again. There's just nobody like Kari. I mean, she makes getting up in the morning exciting.
I mean, she's a hell of a political talent. I mean, as a communicator, I mean, she's better than everybody in the state right now that I can think of.
Yeah, if she just could take a look at herself in the mirror and come to an understanding that, yeah, sometimes you're wrong, A, as we all are, and B, you lost, and it's okay. But take a look at why you lost. I could never understand after losing once. And it was clear what she needed to do to turn that around.
Mm-hmm.
And she made the same mistakes. She didn't listen to anybody. Because she's right, and everybody else is wrong. Everybody.
Yeah, I know. Well,
but she is a talented woman. She's a beautiful woman. She's a smart woman. I've never seen anybody shoot themselves in the foot so willingly and so cheerfully all the time.
And I just still don't understand the anger from her. I mean, like, get it. Like, I don't know, maybe you agreed or didn't, or disagreed on how you left TV news and whatnot, but she was a staple here for a long time. And it provided her with pretty good life.
Some of it was manufactured anger to meet the moment, the MAGA moment. And then she sort of just morphed into that person, I think. They love her.
Yeah.
35 to 40% of Arizona would vote for her. Of Arizona Republicans, I think, would vote for her. But they're just not enough of the electorate to get her over the top, which is what'll be interesting to see how the MAGA candidates next year fare.
All right. Well, run a little long on time, so I want to kind of end here. What's piquing your interest now? What kind of future columns can we expect from you here in the coming weeks?
Gonna just have to watch and see. I would turn my attention back to the legislature a little bit. I think that everybody's so busy. Trump and all of the things like that are sucking so much of the oxygen in the room. But I find that even when I write about state politics now, it's like nobody cares. Stuff that used to be would get a huge reaction because it's outrageous. Legislative immunity, for example. I will be watching that one closely. And
we'll be watching that one
pay
closely.
Raises and a lot of those other things. But I just don't think people right now have the bandwidth to pay attention to those things because Trump and all of the parts of that come out to Arizona are taking up all the oxygen.
I mean, just to point to your point, I just wish people would pay more attention to state politics. But it's almost like politics now is just it's like a reality show. It's a TV show, and it's a better TV show, more fun to watch. What's going on in D.C. I guess than the State House.
It's a good time if you want to sneak something through here.
Oh yeah,
Jake Hoffman, are you listening? It's a good time.
It's a damn good time.
If you want to sneak something through, now's the time because people just aren't focused on it. Journalists aren't focused on it. So I'm probably going to try to focus more on it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the immunity bill. I think that actually has a chance, slim chance, maybe getting voted on the floor.
I hope so. I think it will be. Senate President Warren Peterson has told me that he supports it. Yeah. So he'll bring it to the floor. I'm trying to remember where it is. It has to get through a committee. Right.
It avoided the Wendy Rogers, was it a committee?
Who was it sent to? Do you know? Was it sent to Fincham? No, it wouldn't have been Fincham because he has military or something. As long as it didn't get to Hoffman. But he wasn't.
No, it didn't get to Hoffman. But it's the one. T.J. Shope is on the committee too.
Is it Senate Judiciary?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I think that it'll probably get a hearing there. Then it'll come on the floor. It'll probably pass, and what do you think it would pass by when it gets to the voters? 80%?
Oh God, I think if you were a political bookie, you'd put the over under at 80. And I'm taking the over.
Yep.
Because that's something. It's pretty universal. People and it's been abused, frankly, for these traffic tickets.
It's been abused for a long time. It's just been abused by enough people in short order, and they've thrown up enough of a mock outrage that anyone would dare to hold them accountable. That's what's made the difference this time. Last year, when Justine Radsack got stopped and claimed that it was political persecution. How dare you come after me for going 72 in a 35 zone or whatever it was.
That was the thing, is like how incredulous they are about it. Like, she's just, Radsack was, how fast were you going in a 35? It was just incredible.
72.
Yeah. And then
But that's her right because she was a legislator.
And then the body cam video for Fincham was just he's
I
so
haven't seen the body. I haven't seen the body cam.
So entitled, you know.
Well, then he sends a letter to the police chief demanding
Senate
the
stationery.
citation. Yeah, of course, of course. What's it good for otherwise? But and out of all of this, I can't remember who wrote the story that a lot of these people are given stickers when they are elected to put on their driver's license. Stop it.
I know.
Stop it.
I know. It's like, come on, you guys are special anyway. And like, yeah, it's so I'm saying.
You think that
okay,
you can hold
maybe
me.
the over-under is 85%. I don't know. I don't know who votes for
Dare
that.
you think that you can hold me accountable for the laws that I pass? Those are for you, mere mortals over there.
And next time you come on, we'll talk about pay raises for lawmakers. Because
I've been following that for decades.
Because they need
I got stories.
Yeah, I do too. And I it's a longer conversation. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the second half of the Politics Unplugged podcast here on a Friday. Sorry, I can't speak right now. It's been a long, long week. And Colin, you did some fact checking here because we did ask you to look and see, why did Elon Musk actually leave South Africa? And my understanding was he wanted to avoid conscription into the army there, but wanted to make sure that we were accurate on that. So you did some fact checking because that's what we do here in Politics Unplugged. We do big J journalism from time to time. And that includes some fact checking. What'd you find?
He got a Canadian passport at 17. His mom was Canadian. Got a Canadian passport at 17 to get out of South Africa to avoid the conscription that would come at 18. So, yes, that is.
So this gives him authority to call Mark Kelly a traitor.
A traitor, yeah. Yeah.
So if you're an Arizona politician and you're you flew jets, you're a jet combat pilot.
Yeah.
You become
ran missions in enemy territory.
Then you become. Apparently, you just become a target then from the right. I'm looking at John McCain and now Mark Kelly.
Yeah. To his credit, he usually calls people pedophiles when he disagrees with them. He called Kelly a traitor, so I guess that might be a sign of respect. I don't know. Remember the guy who was trying to save the kids in the cave in Thailand? And Elon, there was a soccer team, little kids who got trapped in a cave.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Tides rose, so they were stuck in the cave, and they were trying to figure out how to get them out. And Elon said, I shall create a submarine that will have them out in moments. Or something to that effect. And one of the rescuers said, we're not talking that kind of terrain, man. It's all rocks and stuff like a submarine. That's not a thing that will work. And Elon's response is, well, you're a pedophile. That's the guy who's now sitting in on meetings on, what will happen in a war with China.
Well, and that's when, and he's got what they would say, F you, fuck you money.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you got that much kind of money, you can go around and say that. You know, like anybody disagrees with you, you can just say, hey, you're a pedo.
Yeah. And then you get put in charge of the federal government.
Oh, boy. Are you hopeful, like Laurie Roberts is, that the pendulum will swing back at some point?
I think the pendulum's going to swing back. It's just a question of the damage that's done before the pendulum swings back. I mean, if you destroy all the functionality of Social Security, all right, when the pendulum swings back, that's great. We no longer have a Social Security system that works.
Yeah.
We've got Elon Musk with his little toy chainsaw dancing around, blowing up different departments. And when it swings back, people go, well, I kind of liked having Medicare. I kind of needed that.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty easy to dance around your little hat and sunglasses and chainsaw and destroy Medicare. Rebuilding the system to make it functional is a lot harder.
Yeah.
So, we'll see when the pendulum swings. I have no doubt it's going to swing.
Mm-hmm.
But what's left when it does.
Yeah, that's kind of the question. What's going to be done? I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
It's the feel-good edition.
It's the
Politics Unplugged podcast.
I mean, Laurie and I spent 5 minutes talking about executions, and I was like, "Oh man, this is getting macabre."
Yeah,
we
got a little dark.
I do appreciate, speaking of that real quick, I do appreciate that idea. Like, look, you want to do this? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
but maybe you should watch it.
Own it. Yeah,
Yeah,
know
own
what
it.
you're voting for.
Yeah, and I would be terrified if you live streamed firing squad executions. If you live streamed that, the numbers would just terrify me.
Yeah.
You know,
Put it on pay-per-view. Eliminate some deficits.
boy, oh boy.
That's not an endorsement, by the way.
No, definitely not. We're not advocating here on Politics Unplugged as this being a credible plan to eat away at potential budget deficits or raise some revenue.
Yeah,
You know?
was just forecasting.
Yeah. But although you could always put a positive spin on these things, right? By saying like, yeah, and the revenue raised from this would go to schools. It would go for the kids. you can get almost
just like
anything
legalized
passed.
gambling, where for every 100 million that gets wagered, there's like, a ham sandwich that goes to the state.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can come up with another.
You
great
can get
system
almost
like that.
anything paid for that. It's like, yeah, portion goes to kids, and the other portion goes to animals.
Yeah.
Pet shelters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did want to talk to you about your favorite topic in all of politics, and that is polls.
Yeah.
You love polls.
God, I hate polls. I hate polls so much. And it's bad enough leading up to the election, but now, and we sit in a newsroom where we've got all sorts of monitors everywhere with CNN and MSNBC and Fox and whatever else, CNBC, all of it. And so you can constantly see what everyone's doing. And everyone's constantly still, after the election, running poll stuff. What's the approval rating? How do people think about this? What do they think about that? And a few days ago, the headline that everyone was going with was, Trump more popular than Democrats. People support Trump. And if you look at the numbers, well, they didn't. It was like 44% approved of what he was doing, which last I checked, that's fewer than half. So let's not act like that's some massive mandate. That's not a lot of support. And he's doing better than Democrats because no one right now hates Democrats more than other Democrats looking at Washington and thinking, you gutless pukes, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I thought that was stupid. But in the big picture, can we stop reporting on polls like they mean anything? I mean, honest to God, and here's the one poll I found interesting last year leading up to the election.
Yep.
And it didn't get much play until after the election, of course.
Yeah.
And it's where do people stand on the issues? You read them a bunch of summaries of where parties stand on the issues, and what do you think of that? Do you agree with them? What is your view? And the overwhelming majority of people supported the Democratic view on positions.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't mean anything in the election because we don't report on the issues. We don't report on stances on things. We don't report on, going in, you had no idea where people would stand if you were listening to us because we were too busy covering a goddamn poll.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Social Security and what one side says they would do to it and what the other side says they would do with it. Because someone just released a poll that showed that it has the exact same numbers in the presidential races last week. And what does that mean? And it's endless. And it's a terrible, terrible, terrible way to cover political things and a way to cover government. And if the end result is, as the poll there would seem to suggest, that you have a president and both sides of Congress in control of a party whose viewpoints on things are wildly out of the norm. The polls showed across the board, people support the Democratic positions. And we've got a Republican president, Republican Republican, Congress, both sides.
Yeah.
That would seem to be problematic. And if we could stop covering polls and start covering issues, maybe you could get a situation where the people's views on issues are in line with who they vote for.
Yeah.
On either side. This isn't a necessarily a pro-Democrat argument. It's just that apparently you have a whole hell of a lot of people out there who are voting against their own interests. And at the same time, we're supposed to be informing them about these issues, and we're not.
Well, and you've heard me talk a little bit about this, though, too. I agree 100%. It was frustrating for me, too, because, polls are the lowest hanging fruit of journalism. And there are people who take polling data information and do great work with it. Like Ronald Brownstein, I don't know if you follow much of his work. He is somebody who really understands polling and can turn those into revealing stories and things that matter. The problem is just it's writ large is there are fewer and fewer of us in the media, the legacy media.
Yeah.
And to do good issue-based stories takes commitment, it takes time, and takes some resources, and maybe all of which, particularly time and resources, are harder to come by in media these days.
It's hard not to look at that as an excuse on a lot of these.
And I was just going to say, for me too, it's probably an excuse for me. It makes me feel good because I didn't do a great job, doing stuff on issues last year, and I fully can be held accountable on that. I did the best you can, but it gets pretty tough in the heat of things to be able to do a decent piece and to really look at and explain some of those issues.
Yeah. And look,
because you wouldn't believe how hard it is. They find people and convince them to go on camera.
Yeah. And it's a lot easier to sell a story on, hey, well, there's a new poll. We'll tell you who's leading the race than it is to sell a story on the two sides have very different views on Social Security, and we'll tell you what they might mean in this election.
Yeah.
And that second one has a lot of value to a lot of people, and I would argue the first one has no value to anyone other than someone working on a campaign.
No, and it's partly there's an entertainment quality that is with politics that's kind of sports, horse racing. There's always that analogy there, and there's a bit of that. It comes to that, so
yeah, and I've grown to just loathe that.
Well,
and just watching,
and there are legit questions about how accurate they are because voters now more than ever are just very savvy about this stuff.
Yeah,
and you got to ask yourself, who are these people who who agree to take these polls? These people aren't normal.
No.
I mean, if you get called up in the middle of the night, or around dinner time, and says, "Hey, you got 40 minutes to take a survey with me, or 30 minutes, or however long it takes."
No. You're going to end up with the people who are the most performative when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
The people who have the signs and the stickers and the flags on their car, they're the ones who are going to take 40 minutes to tell you what they think.
Yeah.
And even if the poll numbers end up being accurate, and I don't give a shit. I don't care about that stuff. The amount of time, there's a monitor right above my desk. It's got CNN on it with the audio off. And the amount of time since the election they have spent talking about poll numbers, I can't think of anything less consequential than that.
Well, even now, to your point with the approval rating of President Trump, even now, it just seems, although, we joke, it seems like it's been a long 8 weeks or whatever we are in this administration because there's been so much actions. There's been so many stories that have come out of Washington. It seems like it's been much longer than that.
Yeah.
But, what the fuck does a poll tell you now about this administration, where people are?
Yeah. And 44% support Trump. Okay.
Check back in the fall once we get through this summer. Let's check back. Maybe let's look at some polling data and see where the American public thinks he is. Maybe close to a year in.
Yeah. And the new number was 56% disapprove of the economy or of Trump's approach to the economy, which was framed as a bad thing, which I thought was funny because that's the exact same number that would be disapproving of his job performance, but they acted like that was a great success for Trump. 56-44 is bad if it's the economy, but it's good if it's overall. That doesn't. Yeah.
Oh.
So this is the part where we usually segue to how about those Suns?
So how about those Suns, Colin?
They're going to make the play-in.
2 games in a row. I'm feeling like, we're going to see a Hollywood turnaround here.
Yeah. On the court, it's been funny to me to see how much Budenholzer's been willing to just grab the young guys, the guys who haven't played as much, and throw them in and experiment. And I tip my hat because it's,
I haven't been watching, but I hear there's more energy when they throw them in.
Yeah.
Energy and effort. Look what happens. I hear Booker's been playing with more energy. I've been missing the past few games. I wouldn't say I was missing them, but
Colin Gillespie, who's on a 2-way contract, has been great. Really good at the point, brings a lot of energy.
Do you sense there's a Gillespie fever?
There might be Gillespie fever, and I've seen him play. I've been going to the G League games, so I've seen him play a lot there as he was getting back into shape, and because he had a broken foot in the off season, so it took a while. But that guy can really play, and has been a huge addition to them. But anyway, where they stand right now is they're tied for 10th, and 10th place is the last play-in spot. They're tied for 10th with the Dallas Mavericks, who are going down. If the Mavericks absolutely, I think there are 12 games left in the season. Mm-hmm. If they win any of those, it'll be an upset. The Mavericks, everyone is hurt.
I thought Anthony Davis was coming back, though.
At some point, maybe.
That could change the dynamic.
A little bit. They're literally at the point where the discussion has been, are they going to have to forfeit games because they don't have enough players?
Okay.
And it's not a joke. They've been down to you need 8 guys on the roster for a game, and they're down. Last I looked, they were down to 7 relatively healthy guys and a couple guys listed as day-to-day who you could probably slap a uniform on and pretend they're available when they're not. If they lose anyone else, they're in trouble.
All I know is if the Suns get into the play-in game and they win that play-in game, I want the team to go over the top and act like,
You want the champagne popping, and
I want it all.
Yeah.
I want a parade the next day.
They'll be in a position where they need 2 wins. The pool of teams there is probably like Timberwolves, Kings, someone else. I'm forgetting who the
How did
fourth
Timberwolves get so bad?
They were more dependent on Karl Anthony Towns than they realized.
Okay.
I think they decided they couldn't win with him. Let's shake things up. And
you can't win without him, apparently.
You can't win without him either. Yeah. That's not a trade that went well for him.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a third team involved in there, but it's like they're good, but it's certainly not. If the Suns are playing to anything close to what they're capable of, they can get through that and get in the playoffs. Doesn't mean they're going to. And the other threat is the Blazers are 2 games behind them. Well, I doubt the Blazers are going to catch them, but they might. They have an easier schedule than the Suns.
$400 million, so you can chant, we're number 10.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
You get into the playoffs, and then who knows? But it's not.
And then they would play Oklahoma City in the first round.
Potentially,
and they're just going to get schooled.
That would be probably somewhat likely, yes.
Yeah, that team is just loaded.
They're really good.
They got talent, really and they play like a team,
and they're still crazy young, and
all right,
and have 8 million draft picks.
Before we get out of here, man, how's your NCAA brackets looking?
It's brutal. It's brutal. After just day, because we're doing this Friday morning, so it's really just one full day.
Yeah.
My brackets are
already busted.
Blasted. I'm usually pretty good at the start of it. Usually I'm up near the top and then fade maybe by the end of the first weekend. But and no, I'm doing horrendously. See,
I didn't fill out a bracket this year, just like I haven't for many years.
See, I almost always do because I don't follow college basketball at all anymore. I mean, I follow NBA incredibly closely. Go to a bunch of G League games. Do not care about college basketball in the slightest. But the tournament's fun, and filling out the bracket gives
college basketball used to be
interest.
my favorite sport as a kid. And then
it's
but there's
it's
no
very much not what it used to be.
No, and there's no continuity of teams anymore, and it hasn't been for decades, really.
No, and once you brought in the like one and done thing, it just means that if they're any good, they're not in college.
Yeah, and then you've got all these, like you're seeing now, these mercenaries, kind of, these guns for hire in the college ranks.
Yeah,
that could, maybe make some good coin while they got with their college eligibility, and you see all them going around, like you see seniors on these teams. It's like, oh, how many colleges have they been to in the past couple of years?
Yeah,
it's a weird time.
It is. I don't think college basketball is coming back. I don't.
No, I think it's going the way of boxing and horse racing at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, what is horse racing? It's the Kentucky Derby and nothing else.
Yeah,
and scandal.
Yeah,
it's a Kentucky Derby followed by every scandal every couple of years.
And I realize there are people who love horse racing and love college basketball and that, but I don't know. I take a step back and go, man, if it goes away, that's probably for the best.
And
colleges have other things they could be worried about.
I used to love betting on the ponies, man. It was a lot of fun, and the Derby was great. Just 21 horses out there, because you never see that. Like in most races are like eight.
Yeah,
5 to 8 horses. And it's like the Derby is like, okay, got 21 horses, man.
And horse racing is one of those things where I enjoy it. Going to the track, spending a day at the track, and betting on the horses is a lot of fun.
And
it's also, the sport is morally indefensible.
No, of course.
And I enjoy it. It should probably go away.
Yeah. I'm not gonna. I won't miss it. And frankly, I haven't like been to the track in a number of years, and hadn't been to done any betting for a number of years on it. But I used to really enjoy it. You go throw a couple bucks down on a few races, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where you kind of have to see it in person to appreciate it. Because I was, growing up, I'd see horse racing and didn't care about it. And then when I was, I don't know, probably a teenager, went to Santa Anita.
Oh yeah.
And watched it there, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And then also to throw a few bucks on it. There's a big interest.
Yeah.
It makes everything a lot more interesting. So but college basketball. I grew up being an Iowa Hawkeye fan. Man, that team is just nowhere near what they used to be. They used to be competitive in the Big Ten, and they're not even that anymore.
Yeah. And it's funny, as an Oregon fan, Oregon grad, they're pretty good now, and they never were when I was there. And
Oregon State used to have some good squads.
Yeah, those days are gone.
Yeah,
Gary Payton,
AC Green.
Yeah, they were good back then. They're
not anymore.
Yeah, no. They're competitive in the Pac-2.
And for me, like seriously, and this says more about me than anything else. My real only interest in the brackets is I kind of hoping that the University of Arizona Wildcats get defeated in the first round by the Akron Zips, which will be happening later today.
No, I think that's a terrible attitude to take.
I know.
You want them to win in the first round so they lose to Oregon in the second round. I will be rooting for Arizona today.
But no.
Just so on Sunday we get the Ducks-Arizona matchup I want. I want Oregon to win.
Okay, yeah. Okay, but Oregon, you know how those big upsets in the first round happen? They beat whatever, and they get blown out in the second round.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather just have a nice sweet ride to the Sweet 16?
Nah. And the flip side of this is if it becomes Arizona, Oregon, and Oregon loses, I've got about 10 coworkers who are just going to give me a raft of shit. But I'm optimistic that the Ducks will win it, and I get to give them a raft of shit, and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, but the thing is that Basketball's the only thing U of A has.
That's true.
The only thing.
That's true. Yeah, I
I mean,
know. It feels a little bad when you're a football school and you still beat them at basketball because you know how much it means to them.
Yeah, no, I mean it's like every year around week 4, the college season, right? You can count on U of A fans. It's like, well, basketball season starts next month.
Yeah,
you can count on it.
Yeah, is the big chant down there still during the games down in front?
I don't know.
I know that used to be mostly what you'd hear from the fans.
I never understood what the hell bear down means.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't have enough time or desire to explain my irrational disdain for the University of Arizona Wildcats.
All right.
Yeah. That'll be another show.
Yeah. That's good. You'll get enough hate mail now. We should probably wrap.
Yeah, probably wrap too. If I offended any Wildcats out there, like, good. Good.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll see you next weekend.
See you in a week.
Thanks for listening. You can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the Google Store, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. See you next time.